I came to the UK in 2004, and one of the first places that I went to was a dump. I've always had a fascination with landfill sites, and I went to one of the nearest dumps there is to London. I also went to all the waste transfer stations, things like that. And I think this is really when the social enterprise movement welcomed me with open arms, because my ambition wasn't really to start a business, it was to solve a problem. In the year that I arrived, 100 million tons of waste went to landfill. And it seemed really, really massively uncivilized that this was happening, because a lot of the materials that end up here really, really shouldn't. They're beautiful, they're wonderful, they're lovely. And I guess what we did when we're talking about creativity was revolutionary, although it didn't seem to be revolutionary at the time. No? Still technological glitches here. What we decided to do in terms of addressing this problem was to look at it in a completely different way. So your traditional design process is you have an idea, you go out and acquire the materials to achieve that idea, and you make an end product. And what we did instead was we started with a problem, and then we tried to imagine what the best possible solution for that material problem would be. And that's what we called backwards design, and is now becoming known as the circular economy. But for us, the problem came first, the material came first. And the problem that we decided to focus on was London's decommissioned fire hoses. So this was our first problem. And it's a beautiful problem to choose, because it's 25-year-old, absolutely stunning material, filled with history. It's also a very strong, durable, fire-resistant, water-resistant nitrile rubber. So lots of wonderful properties. And the solution that we came up with was making luxury accessories. And we thought that that was the best possible way to solve the fire hose problem. And the reason we went down that pathway was because we discovered that Louis Vuitton, in their monogram collection, uses kind of a lesser grade of nitrile rubber than there is in the fire hose. So we knew we were starting with this fundamentally better material. What we didn't discover until a few years later was that actually we were solving a problem for the industry too. Because the luxury industry, as of a report issued in 2007, was only performing to a C+ standard in terms of its environmental performance and its ethical performance. And we knew that this industry essentially was failing. So we weren't just solving a problem for the fire hose, we were solving an industry issue as well. And then we do something, I guess, that's also radical. We decided to give 50% of our profits to the firefighters' charity from the fire hose collection. And the reason that we did this was because it made sense. This was a snap decision. I think sharing is fundamentally good. I think that if we're talking about the circular economy, it makes sense for capital to go in a circular flow as well. But it also means that if you're looking at business, you know that creativity doesn't end in the design process. Creativity doesn't end with the product. You can be creative in all aspects of how you run the business. And for us, giving and creating a wonderful community of stakeholders was really, really important. And because we do these three amazing things, we rescue materials, we transform them into beautiful things, and we give half of the money away, lots of good things happen to us. So we ended up in this Vogue photo shoot in 2009, and really that put the business on a completely different trajectory. Suddenly we were in some of the biggest luxury retailers, we were designing products for Apple, we won lots of interesting kinds of awards, and we started thinking that the world from then on was going to be completely rosy, and that we're going to be able to solve all the world's problems just by collecting one waste at a time. So we got really, really egotistical after this in 2009. But also that was because when we started, we set out to achieve this one problem. We wanted to solve the fire hose waste problem. And by 2010, we had done it. We were a large enough company to be taking all of London's fire hose every year and turning it into products every year. And then a lot of bad things happened. So 2010, we found this amazing factory, but in order to buy this amazing factory, we had to sell our flat, we had to give up our commercial lease on our industrial estate, we had to consolidate all of our resources, and then the sale fell through at the last minute. We had an American distributor run off with lots of stock, and we had Burberry discover our manufacturing partner and buy all their capacity. So literally within a space of 3 months, the three worst possible things that you can possibly imagine happening to us all happened. And I typed into Google, why bother we're trying to save the world and nobody cares. And there was this long stream of consciousness. And then I clicked images, and this was the image that came up. I don't play video games, I've never seen it before, but this is the slogan for Assassin's Creed, which is a really violent game. And I remember looking at this going, yeah, capitalism, oh, sucks, and all these things. But then actually I looked at it again and I thought, I only looked at the bottom half. From then on in, my attitude completely changed. Everything is permitted. I was like, if Google doesn't have to pay taxes, I can go crazy. I can do whatever I want. And what we decided to do in that year was double down on all of the good things that we did. Every ambitious project we'd ever wanted to try, every completely crazy, wonderful, good, socially enterprising thing, we tried. And a lot of it failed, but a lot of it succeeded, and it led us to where we are now. One of the things that we really decided to take on, so let's say fire hose is a 10 tons a year problem. In this 2011, a lot of people from the luxury industry started approaching us with their leather offcuts. Fire hose, 10 tons a year. The leather offcut situation globally, 800,000 tons a year, significantly bigger than we are. And we decided that actually this was going to be our reason to scale. I think there's a lot of social enterprises that don't view growth as an end in itself. They don't want to grow for growth's sake. But we need to grow because our problems are bigger than we are. And if we're the best people at solving those problems, then we don't just have a right to grow, we're compelled to grow. And we were looking at this problem and I thought, actually, let's not just solve the leather waste problem, let's also deliver on the circular economy. So this was the design brief that I gave to my partner, Elvis, who's a lot more talented in that respect than I am. I said, look, you've got to take all of these tiny little bits of leather scrap and you've got to deliver something that looks like this. And what he came up with was 3 shapes that you have to hand cut them, you have to hand weave them, but you can essentially make new hides of any size. And maybe you're not that interested in rugs, but if you don't like your rug anymore, you can take it apart and you can make a cube, which isn't necessarily that interesting either, unless you imagine it as upholstery. And if you don't like the chair anymore, you can take that apart and you can make a bag. So we've taken leather, which when it's tanned, it kind of is forever, and we've turned it into this perpetual material that can continue to be reinvented through time. And what to me is the most interesting thing about this is, as designers, what we've effectively done is let go. We've accepted that the best thing that will come from this leather system is something that someone else will design that we don't even know. The commitment to 50% donation remains strong. So even though we lost that first factory, we did eventually find this is in North Kent, this is where we're based now. And the building, this has been a mill since 1837. It was powered by renewable energy until 50 years ago when they poured cement on the wheel and shut that down. And actually what we decided to do, because with the leather we've come up with this circular proposition, and the world can never be circular unless it's powered by renewable energy, that 50% of the profits from the leather project have to go to renewable infrastructure. And that was inspiration from the building that we're in. Normally I have to kind of explain the values here, but social enterprises are the best businesses in the UK. So all of you get this, right? You get that we're not just about money, and that we are all trying to deliver multiple positive objectives. You get that most of the business design questions we ask are around whether we're going to make the world better for other people's grandchildren. You know, our personal motto is do more, be better. We have managed with our leather system to take something that would cost £410 to put into landfill and turn it into £100,000 of value. And that's why we've partnered with the Burberry Foundation, and we're working with Burberry Leather Offcuts, because I'm trying to tackle a problem that is 80,000 times bigger than we are, and we thought it would be sensible to partner with a business that's at least 7,000 times bigger than we are in order to tackle that problem. We're transparent. And I think what we're also trying to do is redefine luxury. You know, luxury for me is Friday night chilling out with a pizza and a bottle of red wine. But it's up to all of us to decide what that is. It's education. It's an equal society. It's all of the wonderful things that I think social enterprises can deliver. And 10 years into this movement, I think what's really exciting now is that when we started, there wouldn't have been any capital available for a business like ours. It was too radical. We were too far ahead of where maybe even consumers were. But that finance is now available. And I guess, we were asked to talk about creativity, but also to talk about where we need the social enterprise movement to go next. And I want to speak mostly to the investors that are in the room. You've got social enterprises and B Corps and all kinds of models that are delivering multiple positive objectives. And for me, that means that we want more than just money too. Money is the grease in the wheels. So for the investors out there, you have to be prepared to roll up your sleeves, get involved, help recruit, help scale, help address the problems in really, really direct ways. Because I think a lot of us are looking for more than just a financial partner. We're looking for people who want to actively engage with scaling our businesses. Thanks.